Well, we're going to talk about the New York Mets and how they're going to address the situation with Edwin Diaz and losing him probably for the entire season. And I wanted to talk to our baseball columnist, the New York Post, Joel Sherman. Joel, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great, Ryan. Yourself?
I'm doing well. Obviously, there's a lot of raw reactions when everyone saw Edwin go down with that injury. I just want to ask you straight up, when you saw that injury and you heard the news of, what it was, a torn right patellar tendon, what was your reaction and what did you take away from all that?
Look, my first reaction always, Ryan, is general sadness. Players' careers are short. Fans and those of us who report on the games, you don't want to go to Broadway and see the understudies. You want to see the stars. And knowing that a really terrific baseball player who is really well regarded in his own clubhouse, he was the Good Guy Award winner from the local chapter of the Baseball Writers. So you know that the reporters have a great deal of affinity for this player. So just initially sadness that the player was lost. And then just thinking about big picture with the Mets, a closer only plays, I think Diaz played 62 innings last year. I think he pitched about 62 innings, but he impacts so much more than that, right? Like there's, that simply knowing that he's sitting at the end of the game allows a team to line up Buck Showalter to line up his relief pitchers in a way that's more comfortable to him. It impacts the other team that knows it better win the game by 24 outs. Otherwise, it's probably not going to win it when you throw the ball as well as Diaz did last year. And so, he had real impact on the field, games he didn't play in the clubhouse. It's a very difficult loss for the Mets.
Yeah, I mean, he obviously was one of the best, if not the best closers in baseball last year. You talked to Francisco Lindor yesterday. He returned to the Mets after the World Baseball Classic, and he had some honest moments and honest comments about the injury. What did you take away from Lindor's comments talking about Diaz?
Yeah, I thought the most powerful thing was him not recognizing right away who was hurt on the field. He was celebrating around second base with Javier Baez after Puerto Rico had defeated the Dominican 5-2 to eliminate the favorite in the World Baseball Classic. It was a great triumphant moment for that team. And he turned around and he saw a huddle around a player on the ground, and he couldn't make out who the player was, but then he saw the cleats and there was a trumpet on the cleats, and he knew that it was Edwin Diaz down. So there was sadness. And I think that Lindor used the word love, how much he cares about Diaz. It was very powerful to hear it. And then he did what the pseudo captain of the team should do, is he suggested the team can turn the page. They still have real strengths. I wrote about this, Ryan, a few days ago. The 2012 Yankees lost Mariano Rivera, I believe, like in the first few days of May of 2012. Also, his right knee, not the same exact injury, but it was a right knee injury. He was lost for the season. He was as dominant as we know relief pitcher in the way, he had a bunch of seasons like Diaz had last year. And it felt in the moment like, oh, well, how would you ever replace that? Except for that Rafael Soriano and David Robertson did replace it. And David Robertson is on this team. Billy Eppler was the assistant GM of the Yankees in 2012. He's the Mets GM now. Buck Showalter's Orioles finished second to the Yankees that year and were eliminated in the playoffs in part because Soriano and Robertson pitched so well. And in just a great kind of coincidence, the ball that was hit was by Jason Nix that day in batting practice. He was only on the team because the starting third baseman had incurred a concussion the day before. That was Eric Chavez, who's the bench coach for the Mets now. So they have a bunch of people who know you can overcome this, but it nevertheless is a difficult one. This is the guy who was best at what he did in the sport.
Yeah, and it's amazing, those similarities in that situation in 2012 when you compare it to obviously what just happened here. And it's just such a freak injury, obviously celebrating the victory and that he goes down like that.
Or chasing a fly ball on the warning track in
chasing
batting practice like he had done thousands and thousands of times, Rivera.
Crazy. But, Lindor seems he's still upbeat about this team and his chances. And, obviously the Mets have spent the most out of all teams in MLB. And a lot of people should still be bullish on this team. And I wanted to ask you about this bullpen, how they're going to address both the closer position and how they're going to use that bullpen, especially Buck Showalter and Billy Eppler. You're writing another column about how they shouldn't be so rash or shouldn't be as quick on addressing that situation with Edwin Diaz. What can you take away right now about that?
Yeah, I think one of the reasons I suggested you can't be rash is, there's 100+ years of baseball history. There are not a ton of big trades done now. It's hard to find lots of big trades in baseball history for relief pitchers at this time of year. One did occur in 2015. Craig Kimbrell was traded from Atlanta to San Diego, but that was kind of a salary dump because the Braves put B.J. Upton's toxic contract in with Kimbrell to get out of about $80 million total dollars for a team they knew was rebuilding. A.J. Preller was collecting stars in his first year as GM with the Padres, something he's also gotten very good at over the years. It's just not available right now. One executive said to me, what should cost $1.25 for when you're buying $1 back is going to cost $3 now, especially because you'd smell the desperation on the Mets. I think that this is the time of year you look for your scouts who like guys who are out of options, who's throwing the ball well, who might be an iffy guy to make a roster, who you could bring in. I always encourage fans, go look at like the 20 best relievers from any season, like last season, and see how many of them are guys who've been designated for assignment, release, small trades. It's a very fungible job. There's very few guys who are really, really good year after year. That being said, the Mets are down this player who is one of the guys I think you could actually believe in. They're going to ask David Robertson, who isn't 2012 David Robertson, to pitch at the end of the game. They're going to ask Adam Ottavino to pitch at the end of the game. Everyone's got to move up a spot. And Joe Girardi told me, who was the manager of those 2012 Yankees, he told me something interesting the other day, Ryan. He said, they really need to close all the games in April because you know how this will go in our market with our media and our fan base. If this doesn't go well, where they're blowing games and losing games in April, in my lifetime, I've seen the Major League Baseball season become 162 one-game seasons instead of everybody being able to appreciate how long the season actually is. And you don't want that mojo to just start seeping in early in the season. Like, why didn't you go out and trade for his brother, Alexis Diaz, or David Bednar from the Pirates? Whether they're available or not, it will become a firestorm of stupidity. So, you're going to have it. And so I do think early in the season, it's important that the Mets close the games and that they kind of get on solid footing there because I think it will set up their whole season in a much better way.
Well, Joel, I thank you so much for putting all this perspective and giving us a lot of good insight about this entire situation, and looking forward to speaking to you soon, man.
All right, Ryan. Thanks a lot.